Welcome to this channel. Here we are going to talk about the stories of our Holy Bible. And today's story will be about Samson as judge, so let's go. The Israelites once again sinned against the Lord, so he let them suffer 40 years at the hands of the Philistines. There was a man named Manoah, who was from the city of Zorah and belonged to the tribe of Dan. His wife couldn't have children. The angel of the Lord appeared to her and said, "You couldn't have children and that's why you were never a mother. But now you will get pregnant and have a child. Don't drink wine or beer and don't eat any forbidden food because you will become pregnant and give birth to a child. Never cut his hair, for he will be consecrated to God as a Nazirite from the day of his birth. He will begin to deliver the people of Israel from the power of the Philistines." So the woman went to her husband and said, "A man of God spoke to me. He looked like an angel from God, and it terrified me. I didn't ask where he came from, and he didn't tell me his name. But he promised that I will get pregnant and that I will have a child. And he ordered me not to drink wine or beer and not to eat any forbidden food, for the boy will be dedicated to God as a Nazirite for life." Then Manoah prayed to the Lord, saying, "O my God, I ask that you send back the man of God you sent, so that he can tell us what we should do with the boy when he is born." God did what Manoah asked. The angel appeared to his wife again when she was sitting in the field. And the husband was not around. So she ran quickly to where he was and said, "The man who spoke to me the other day has appeared again." Manoah got up and followed the woman. He went to where the man was and asked, "Are you the man who spoke to my wife?" "Yes," he replied. Then Manoah said, "When what you said happens, how is the boy supposed to act? What should you do?" The angel of the Lord replied, "Your wife must do everything I've told her. You won't eat anything made from grapes. He will not drink wine or beer, and he will not eat any forbidden food. She must do everything I said." Manoah did not know that this was the angel of the Lord. And he says, "Please don't leave yet. Wait, we'll cook you a goat." "If I stay, I won't eat your food," replied the angel. "But if you want to prepare it, then burn it as an offering to the Lord." Manoah said, "What is your name? We need to know so we can pay homage to you when what you said happens." "Why do you want to know my name?" asked the angel. "My name is a mystery." So Manoah took the goat and grain and offered them on a stone to the Lord, the God of mysteries. As the flames rose from the altar, Manoah and his wife saw the angel of the Lord ascend to heaven in the midst of the flames. Then they knelt down and pressed their faces to the ground. Manoah and his wife never saw the angel again. And Manoah understood that that man was the angel of the Lord. Then he said to the woman, "We're going to die because we saw God." But she replied, "If the Lord wanted to kill us, he wouldn't have accepted our offers. He would not have shown us all this, nor told us all these things." Manoah's wife gave birth to a son and named him Samson. The boy grew up, and the Lord blessed him. Samson was in the field of Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol, when he began to feel the Spirit of the Lord leading him. Samson went down to the city of Timnah and there he saw a Philistine girl. He returned home and said to his father and mother, "I saw in Timnah a young Philistine. Ask me for this girl because I want to marry her." But his father and mother answered, "Why did you go looking for a woman among the Philistines, those people who don't practice circumcision? Could it be that you could not find a woman among our relatives or among our people?" But Samson said to his father, "That's the girl I want. It's her I like." His father and mother did not know that it was the Lord God who was directing Samson to do that. God was looking for an opportunity to attack the Philistines, who at that time dominated the people of Israel. Samson went down with his parents to the city of Timnah. As they were passing through the vineyards of Timnah, a young lion came roaring at him. But the Spirit of the Lord made Samson strong. With his own hands Samson tore the lion to pieces like a young goat. But he didn't tell either his father or his mother what he had done. So he went to talk to the girl and he liked her. A few days later Samson returned there to marry her. He pulled off the road to have a look at the lion he had killed. And he was astonished to see a swarm of bees and honey inside the body of the dead animal. Then he took honey with his hands and went out to eat. He went to where his father and mother were and gave them some. And they ate. But Samson did not tell them that he had taken honey from the lion's body. Samson's father went to the girl's house, and Samson held a feast there, as was the custom of young men. When the Philistines saw him, they brought 30 young men to feast with him. And Samson said to them, "I have a riddle for you. I bet you 30 tunics of pure linen and 30 fine garments that before the 7 days of the wedding feast are over, you will not give me an answer." They answered, "Tell me what the riddle is." Samson said, "From what he eats comes food. And out of the strong came sweetness." 3 days later they still hadn't found the answer to the riddle. On the 4th day they said to Samson's wife, "Find a way to get your husband to give you the answer to the riddle. If you don't, we're going to set your father's house on fire and we're going to burn you down with it. You only invited us so you could rob us, didn't you?" Then Samson's wife said to him, crying, "You do not love me. You hate me. You gave my friends a riddle and didn't tell me the answer." "I didn't tell my father or my mother," he replied. "Why do you think I would tell you?" So she cried during the other days of the party. On the 7th day, as the woman kept insisting, he said the answer. And she told her friends. So on the 7th day, before evening, the men of the city said to Samson, "What is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a lion?" Samson replied, "If you hadn't talked to my wife, you wouldn't know the answer right now." Then the Spirit of the Lord made Samson strong, and he went down to Ashkelon and there he killed 30 men. He took off the fine clothes they were wearing and gave them to the young men who had answered the riddle. Afterwards he returned to his father's house, furious at what had happened. And Samson's wife was given to the man who had been best man at his wedding. Some time later, during the wheat harvest, Samson went to visit his wife and brought her a kid. And he said to her father, "I want to go into my wife's room." But the father did not allow it and replied, "I thought you hated her, so I gave her to your friend. But the little sister is even prettier. If you want, you can have it." Samson said, "This time I'm not responsible for what you do with the Philistines." So he hunted down 300 foxes, tied them 2 by 2 by the tails, and attached a torch to each pair of tails. He lit the torches and released the foxes into the Philistines' wheat fields. And the fire burned not only the wheat that had already been harvested, but also what was still in the fields. The olive groves were also burned. And the Philistines asked, "Who did this?" And they learned that Samson had done this because his father-in-law had taken his wife and given it to his friend. So the Philistines went and burned Samson's wife and her family alive. Then Samson said, "So this is how you do it? For I swear I will not rest until they pay for it." And he furiously attacked, killing many of them. Then he left there and went to the cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines went and camped in Judah and attacked the city of Lehi. The men of Judah asked the Philistines, "Why did you attack us?" And they replied, "We came here to arrest Samson and do to him what he did to us." So 3,000 men of Judah went to Samson in the cave of the rock of Etam. And they said, "Don't you know the Philistines rule over us? Why did you do that?" "I did to them what they did to me," replied Samson. "We've come this far to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines," they said. Samson replied, "Promise you won't kill me." "We promise." They said, "We'll just tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines. We are not going to kill him." Then they tied him with 2 new ropes and made him leave the cave. When Samson arrived in Lehi, the Philistines, shouting, came to meet him. But the Spirit of the Lord made Samson strong. And he broke the ropes that bound his arms and hands, as if they were burned threads. He found a donkey's jawbone that wasn't dry yet. He took the jawbone and with it he killed 1,000 men. Then he started singing like this. With the jawbone of an ass I killed 1,000 men. With the jawbone of a donkey I made heaps and heaps of bodies. Then he threw away the jawbone. And that place was called Mount of the Quizada. Samson became very thirsty and prayed this prayer to the Lord God. You have given me this great victory. Are you now going to let me die of thirst and fall into the hands of these people who don't practice circumcision? So, in the city of Lehi, God opened a hole, and water came out of it. Samson drank that water and felt much better. That spring was called En-Hakkore and it still exists today. Samson governed the people of Israel 20 years, at the time when the Philistines dominated that land. From there Samson went to the city of Gaza. There he saw a prostitute and had intercourse with her. The people of Gaza learned that Samson was there. So they surrounded the place and stayed all night waiting for Samson at the city gate. They were silent, thinking, let's wait for dawn. So we kill him. But Samson lay only until midnight. Then he got up and tore off the city gate, with its frames and bars. He took it all on his shoulders and carried it to the top of the mountain that faces the city of Hebron. After that Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. So the governors of the 5 cities of the Philistines went to see her. They said like this. Get Samson to tell you why he's so strong and how we can overpower him, bind him, and leave him defenseless. If you do this, each of us will give you 1,100 bars of silver. So Delilah asked Samson, please tell me the secret of your strength. If someone wants to tie you up and leave you defenseless, what should he do? Samson replied, if you tie me with 7 new bowstrings that haven't dried yet, I'll be weak and I'll be like everyone else. Then the rulers of the Philistines brought Delilah 7 new bowstrings that had not yet dried, and she bound Samson. Delilah had left some men hidden, waiting in the other room. Then she shouted, Samson! The Philistines are coming! And he snapped the bowstrings as if they were strands of burnt thread. So they still didn't know what was the secret of Samson's strength. Then Delilah said to him, so far you've lied and made fun of me. Please tell me how someone can tie you up. Samson replied, if they tie me up with new ropes that have never been used, I'll be weak and I'll be like everyone else. Then Delilah got new ropes and tied his arms. Then she shouted, Samson! The Philistines are coming! The men were again hidden, waiting in the other room. But Samson snapped the cords as if they were threads. And Delilah said, you keep lying and making fun of me. Tell how someone can tie you up. He replied, if you weave the 7 braids of my hair on a loom and fasten them with a large wooden nail, I will become weak and I will be like anyone else. So Delilah put Samson to sleep. When he fell asleep, she took and wove his 7 braids on a loom and secured them with a large wooden nail. Then she shouted, Samson! The Philistines are coming! But he got up, plucked the nail, and took the hair off the loom. Then she said, why do you say you love me if it's not true? You made a fool of me 3 times and still haven't told me why you're so strong. And she continued to ask this every day. Samson got so tired of her insistence that he couldn't take it anymore. And he ended up telling her the truth. My hair has never been cut. He said. I was dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my hair is cut, I will lose my strength, I will become weak and I will be like everyone else. When Delilah realized that he had told the truth, she sent the following message to the Philistine governors. Go back again. Now he told me the truth. Then they came and brought the money. She made Samson fall asleep on her lap. Then she called a man, and he cut off Samson's 7 braids. Then Delilah started to tease him, but he had lost his strength. She shouted, "Samson! The Philistines are coming." He got up and thought, "I will get rid of it as usual." Samson did not know that the Lord had abandoned him. The Philistines seized him and put out his eyes. So they took him to Gaza and bound him with bronze chains. And they put him to work in prison, turning a mill. But his hair started to grow back. The Philistine governors assembled to hold a feast and offer a great sacrifice to their god Dagon. They sang, "Our God has delivered our enemy Samson into our hands." And the people, when they saw Samson, sang praises to the god Dagon, thus, "Our God has given into our hands the enemy that destroyed our land and killed many of ours." And in the midst of that rejoicing, they said, "Call Samson, so he can amuse us." They brought Samson out of jail and made fun of him. Then they placed him between the columns of the temple. Then Samson asked the boy who was leading him by the hand, "Let me touch the columns that support the temple so I can lean against them." The temple was full of men and women. The 5 Philistine governors were there. There were on the roof about 3,000 men and women looking at Samson and making fun of him. And Samson prayed to the Lord, saying, "O Lord, my God, I ask that you remember me. Please give me strength just this once. Let me at once take revenge on the Philistines for putting out my eyes." Then he grabbed the 2 middle columns, which supported the temple. With his right hand on one column and his left on the other, he threw all his weight against them and shouted, "May I die with the Philistines." Then he pushed with all his might, and the temple fell on the governors and everyone else. And so Samson killed more people at his death than during his lifetime. Samson's brothers and all his family went to get his body. They took him and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the tomb of Manoah his father. Samson had ruled the people of Israel for 20 years. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave your like.